Across 280 square miles of Peruvian desert, a civilization with no aircraft, no satellites, and no mathematical notation carved over 800 geometric figures into the earth, some stretching longer than the Empire State Building is tall. They did this between 100 BCE and 800 CE, over nearly 1,000 years with nothing but wooden stakes and rope. Today, those same lines sit exposed, unguarded, and crumbling. And a single tourist who walks off the viewing platform can destroy in seconds what took an entire generation to create. Why would a civilization with no way to see their own work from above spend 1,000 years drawing images only the gods or the sky could witness? The answer has been buried in cracked desert soil, hidden inside ancient ceramic pots, and erased from history by 5 centuries of colonial silence. You are about to discover that the Nazca Lines are not art, not a landing strip, and not a calendar. They're something far stranger and more human than any of those theories suggest. If you click away now, you will spend the rest of your life wondering what you missed. You stand on the Nazca Plateau and feel the heat before you even open your eyes. The temperature here regularly hits 77 degrees Fahrenheit, but the ground itself radiates like the inside of an oven. There is no shade, there is no water, there are no trees. The wind does not blow, it hisses. This is one of the driest places on Earth. Fewer than 4 millimeters of rain fall here per year. For context, the Sahara Desert receives 25 millimeters annually. The Nazca Plateau receives less than 1/6 of that. And yet, people chose to live here. The Nazca people, who emerged around 100 BCE, were not survivors clinging to the margins of a hostile world. They were engineers, farmers, and artists who had cracked the code of this impossible landscape. Underneath the desert plateau runs a network of underground aqueducts called puquios, spiral-shaped tunnels hand-dug through solid rock that captured groundwater from the Andes and carried it to their fields. Most of these aqueducts are still functioning today, 2,000 years after they were built. But here is what nobody tells you. The puquios were not just irrigation channels. A 2016 study by Italian astrophysicist Rosa La Saponara, using satellite radar imaging from the European Space Agency, discovered that the spiral openings of the puquios align with seasonal wind patterns, meaning the ancient Nazca engineered a system that used the desert wind itself to push water through underground stone tunnels. No pumps, no motors, just physics. A civilization with no written language had mastered fluid dynamics over 2,000 years before it was formally described by Daniel Bernoulli in 1738. Think about what you just heard. The people who built the Nazca Lines were not primitive. They were, in the engineering sense of the word, brilliant. So when this civilization turned their attention to the desert floor itself and began carving lines into the rock, they were not doing it randomly. You are standing at the edge of a geoglyph in 200 CE. Around you, dozens of workers move with quiet precision. They carry no machines. They hold wooden stakes carved from the huarango tree, spools of braided cotton rope, and shallow baskets woven from reeds. The air smells of dust and dry heat and the faint copper tang of iron oxide rock. The foreman, if that is the right word, stands slightly elevated on a mound of removed rock, watching angles, calling out adjustments. The process is simpler than you expect and more shocking. The Nazca Plateau is covered by a thin layer of reddish-brown iron oxide pebbles, desert pavement, geologists call it. Beneath that layer lies pale yellowish-white subsoil. To make a line, you simply remove the reddish pebbles and pile them on either side. The pale subsoil becomes the line. The contrast is stark, clean, and almost impossibly precise. Archaeologist Evan Hattingham and his team measured over 900 individual lines in the 1980s. What they found stunned the archaeological community. Across distances of up to 1,300 feet, nearly a quarter mile, the lines deviate by less than 9 feet total, with nothing but stakes and rope, on uneven desert terrain, under a sun so fierce it blurs your vision after 20 minutes. The precision is not accidental. Experiment after experiment has confirmed that a small team of workers using only sticks and rope can replicate the geometry of the Nazca Lines to within the margins archaeologists have measured. No lasers, no alien technology, just mastery of basic geometric principles executed over centuries. But here's where most documentaries stop, and where this story gets genuinely strange. You would have made the same mistake every researcher made before 1994. Assume the lines were built top-down, with a master plan. But here is what nobody tells you. Many of the Nazca Lines cut directly through older lines. Geoglyphs are drawn on top of geoglyphs. New figures obliterate sections of older ones with no apparent concern for what came before. This is not the behavior of people executing a single unified master design. This is the behavior of a culture that was continuously adding to the plateau generation after generation for over 900 years. The Nazca Lines are not a monument. They are a living practice, and that changes every question you might ask about why they were made. In 1927, a Peruvian archaeologist named Toribio Mejia Expe was hiking through the foothills near Nazca when he looked down and noticed something impossible: lines, perfectly straight lines stretching for hundreds of meters across the desert floor. He wrote about them in an academic paper in 1939, and the world largely ignored him. Then, in 1941, an American historian named Paul Kosak flew over the plateau in a small aircraft. What he saw stopped his heart. From the air, the straight lines he had been studying on the ground transformed into something else entirely. They were not random. They connected to form vast, recognizable figures: a spider, a condor, a monkey with a coiled tail, a hummingbird with wings spanning 200 feet. Kosak radioed ahead when he landed and said simply, "I have found the largest astronomy book in the world." That phrase launched 50 years of bad science. What happens next defies all logic. Maria Rake, a German mathematician who dedicated 40 years of her life to studying the Nazca Lines, became convinced Kosak was right. The figures were a giant astronomical calendar, each geoglyph aligned to a star or constellation that signaled planting seasons. She measured, mapped, and cataloged hundreds of lines. She also paid for the plateau's first guard post out of her own salary. She died in Lima in 1998, still believing in the astronomical calendar theory. She was wrong. In the 1980s, astronomer Anthony Aveni ran a rigorous statistical analysis of 762 individual Nazca Lines and their celestial alignments. His conclusion was devastating. The lines showed no statistically significant correlation with astronomical phenomena. The percentage of lines that aligned with stars was no greater than what pure chance would predict. The astronomical calendar theory, the dominant explanation for half a century, collapsed in a single study. Most people never connect these two facts. The most famous theory about the Nazca Lines was demolished by math in 1990, and yet it is still the explanation most popular science books repeat today. The answer will make you question everything. Anthropologist David Brown and archaeologist Helene Silverman spent years excavating along the lines themselves, not studying them from above, but walking them. And what they found was not astronomical, it was liturgical. Along the edges of the lines, they found ceramic vessel fragments, smashed food containers, the charred remains of ritual fires. The lines were not drawn to be seen, they were drawn to be walked. The Nazca Plateau was a ceremonial landscape, a sacred pilgrimage route where communities walked the outlines of their animal figures, making offerings, performing rituals, and moving in synchronized procession toward a shared spiritual goal. You were never meant to see the hummingbird from the sky, you were meant to become it. By 500 CE, the Nazca civilization has been thriving for 6 centuries. Their pottery, painted in 11 distinct colors using mineral pigments, is among the most technically sophisticated ceramic work in the pre-Columbian Americas. Their textile production rivals anything the ancient world has produced, and the lines continue to grow. Then the rains stop coming, and this is where everything changes. The huarango tree, Prosopis pallida, is the ecological keystone of the Nazca River Valley. Its roots reach up to 60 feet underground, drawing water to the surface and anchoring the desert soil against wind erosion. It takes 50 to 100 years to grow a mature huarango. The Nazca people had been living alongside these trees for centuries, cutting them selectively, respecting their ecological role. Then, around 400 to 600 CE, something changed. Environmental archaeologist David Beresford-Jones, working with a team from Cambridge University, analyzed pollen records from lake sediments near Nazca and found a catastrophic drop in huarango pollen, simultaneous with a sharp spike in agricultural pollen. The Nazca had begun clearing huarango forests to expand their fields, not selectively, massively. Without the huarango trees, the desert reclaimed the valley with terrifying speed. Soil that had been held in place for millennia blew away in seasonal windstorms. The aqueducts, the brilliant underground water system that had sustained the civilization, began to silt up and fail. Fields that had produced food for generations turned to dust. And then, around 600 CE, El Niño delivered the final blow. Catastrophic flooding that destroyed the silted, unprotected fields and buried the valley under feet of sediment. The Nazca civilization did not fall to invasion. They did not fall to plague or earthquake. They cut down too many trees. In a desert civilization that had survived 9 centuries on the edge of the impossible, the thing that broke them was the one ecological mistake they could not reverse in time. And here's the detail that will stay with you. Researchers found evidence that the Nazca people tried to stop it. In the later layers of cleared forest, they began replanting huarango saplings. But a tree that takes 100 years to mature could not save a civilization that had perhaps 50 years left. The lines outlasted the people who drew them by 1,400 years and might have remained unknown to the modern world if not for one pilot and one obsessive mathematician. In November 2019, a team from Yamagata University in Japan, using artificial intelligence to analyze aerial drone photographs, announced the discovery of 143 new geoglyphs on the Nazca Plateau, figures that had been invisible to the human eye for 2 millennia. Among them, a 16-foot humanoid figure on a steep hillside, visible only from one specific angle. A cat resting with its tail curled. A snake nearly 200 feet long coiled around what appears to be a bird. The plateau is still revealing itself. But here is what nobody tells you about the ongoing discoveries. The newer, smaller geoglyphs found by the Japanese team are stylistically different from the famous large ones. They are positioned on hillsides rather than flat plains, meaning they were visible to people walking on the ground, not invisible to them. This suggests a 2-tiered system. Large ceremonial figures drawn on the plateau floor for processional ritual, and smaller hillside figures drawn for everyday visual use by the community. The Nazca did not draw for the sky. They drew for each other and for whatever force they believed watched from above. Most people never connect these two facts. The civilization that built the Nazca Lines also developed the first known use of trophy head skulls in the Americas, not as war trophies, but as sacred ritual objects. Analysis of 150 Nazca trophy heads by University of California archaeologist Veronique Belisk revealed that 80% of them came from individuals who had lived in the same community as their killers. These were not enemy warriors. These were community members, possibly willing sacrificial participants, whose heads were decorated with paint and thread and carried in the same ceremonial processions that walked to the lines. The lines, the processions, the trophy heads, the water shrines, they form a single coherent system, a civilization's sustained, multi-century attempt to negotiate with an environment that was slowly trying to kill them. And then they were gone, leaving only the lines. Here is what strikes you standing at the edge of a 2,000-year-old line at dusk. The Nazca people never stopped. For 9 centuries, through drought, through political upheaval, through the slow failure of their own ecology, they kept adding to the plateau. Generation after generation walked to the desert floor, removed red stones from white earth, and drew another line, another figure, another prayer to whatever they believed was watching. They were not building a landing strip for aliens. They were not calculating astronomy. They were doing what every human civilization does when it finds itself small and uncertain. Against an indifferent universe, they were making something large enough to be seen, something that said, We were here. We tried. We believed in something. The tragedy is not that we don't understand the Nazca Lines. The tragedy is that we understand them perfectly. They are the longest-running act of faith in human history, drawn by a people who knew their world was fragile, who watched their trees die and their rivers fail, and who kept drawing anyway. The lines are still there. The people who drew them have been gone for 1,400 years. But every dawn, the desert light rakes across the plateau, and those pale white lines glow against the red rock. And for just a moment, the Nazca speak. If this story moved you, if you found yourself thinking differently about what ancient people were capable of, drop a comment below and tell me which theory you believed before you watched this, and which one you believe now. Subscribe if you want more stories that dig beneath the surface of history and find the human beings underneath. New documentary every week. The desert has more secrets. We're just getting started.